Tell us your name and tell us about your project.
Hi, my name is Yao Lin, and today I'm here to talk about my colleague Sir Arthur Eddington's solar eclipse observation. Sir Arthur Eddington was the secretary for the Royal Astronomical Society during World War One. Due to his Quaker beliefs, his pacifistic nature allowed him to pursue Albert Einstein's theory of relativity. This was a major deal because Einstein was German. In 1919, Eddington and his team planned a trip to the southern hemisphere to observe the solar eclipse that was going to happen on May 29th. Sir Arthur Eddington was to head to Principe. It is an island off of Africa, while a second team was to travel to Brazil. The point was to observe the deflection the sun caused with its gravitational field.
So, what were you guys trying to do or find?
The major point of this trip was to test Einstein's theory of relativity, which was published by Einstein 4 years earlier.
Where did the project or experiment occur?
The solar eclipse was supposed to occur in the southern hemisphere. Sir Arthur Eddington and his team chose to travel to Principe, and they sent a second team for the same solar eclipse observation in Brazil.
What other significant events were happening around the world at this time?
Well, around the time Sir Eddington performed the observations, World War I was still in progress. But in the scientific community, Arnold Sommerfeld and Walther Kossel published their displacement law. And another scientist, James Jean, discovered that the dynamical constant of motion determines the distribution function for a system of particles.
So, who else was involved in the project?
Actually, Sir Arthur Eddington was recruited by Astronomer Royal Sir Frank Dyson for the trip.
So, what was your role in the project?
My role was to travel to Principe with Sir Eddington and record the observations made. Sir Eddington took pictures that actually capture the Hyade clusters in the region around the sun. And that cluster actually contains a star from the Taurus constellation.
What impact did your project have on the physics community?
After the expedition, both teams compared the observations, and the answers were less than 2 standard errors away from Einstein's theory of relativity. This proved that Einstein's theory was actually correct, as the Newtonian physics of the time had more than 2 standard errors.
So, what major problems occurred during those trips?
So, major problems that happened during the trip was Sir Arthur Eddington was supposed to be conscripted into the army. Before the expedition was supposed to happen, it took many trials to convince the government that Eddington was actually essential for the expedition, as he is one of the few people at that time to understand equations dealing with relativity. Another problem was it had been raining for 19 days before the actual day of the eclipse. So for 19 days, it was just heavy rain and heavy clouds that obscured the sky. Unfortunate for Dr. Eddington, it did seem like he was not going to be able to see the eclipse. On the day of eclipse, the rain was still pouring and the clouds were actually not going to disperse. Somebody said that Dr. Eddington prayed throughout the whole ordeal, and during the last 10 seconds of the eclipse, the sky actually opened up for him to take some pictures. This was important for him as as I mentioned earlier, it documented the high clusters and it proved to him the deflection the sun caused. The Brazil expedition team also had a great view, but the unexpected high jungle heat actually warped the metal into the telescope. But luckily for them, they actually had a smaller telescope that they brought along the way, and they used that to observe the eclipse. And that is all.